All right, well, let's get started. So this is our Cornerstone Conversations, the end of the year annual review time. We're going to try to help us pick back up on how to complete this and some other things that are really important beyond just a tool or a process. So some of the objectives we have today really have to do with the most important piece, and that's people, that's us, right? Our role in this, getting value out of this process, building our confidence and skills so that we can really enjoy the process. And of course, we are going to talk about the tools and the system itself, the technology, make sure that you're more and more familiar with it, and also learn about things that you're learning as you use the system as well. So to kind of get our feet a little bit wet, what I'd love to do is just start us off with a very quick poll. I'm going to launch, let's see, make sure it's our first poll. We have 3 little mini polls today, and it should show up in your chat, and feel free to just go ahead and click on those and respond anytime at all right now. I'll leave it up for a few moments. We'd just like to know, is this your first time using Cornerstone or not? That way we get a gauge of, our users. We also can maybe tailor today's session to the needs of you in particular. The second question is a little bit more open-ended, so you can type in some text. If you have used the system before, what's one thing you like about it? Help us understand what maybe some of its strengths are. And then also for today, if there's something else that we don't cover, what's one thing you really hope to get out of today's session? So I'll try to leave this up for a couple more minutes, and we'll give you a chance to think about that, type in your answers. And then I'll actually put those up so we can take a quick peek at them. This is one of those times where if I had some background music and it wasn't distracting, I'd pop it on first. We get the little Jeopardy, Da, 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 da. All right, just maybe another 30 seconds to think about some things.
Yep, I see them coming in.
It looks like we've got a lot of new users. So about a third of us have been in there before, about 2/3 of us have not. I'm going to end the poll, but you can continue to add information into chat if you like. Let me share as well. We're going to view just quickly the answers. So like I said, about a third of us have been in there. Whoops, a third of us have not. Where's my poll? That's so crazy. I'm sorry about that. It took me right out of Zoom. Look at that. Don't you love technology? All right. I'll come back to that. I'm not going to make you wait for that, but please, again, use chat to make sure that we're capturing all of your experiences and questions there. It's thinking, so I'm going to go back to our. So we've got some new users, so that's going to be important. We're going to help you with different scenarios for some of us who've been in Cornerstone and some of us who haven't. This is a quick review of the performance management process as a whole. It's really a cycle that goes throughout the entire year. It starts off with a planning time, and right now we are married to our fiscal year. So that starts October 1st, and I know we can tell we're already in October, aren't we? So we've started a new fiscal year already. So right now we have an overlap period of when we're wrapping up one year and we're beginning a new year. So we start with planning our goals for that year. And right about the mid-year, just as this suggests, then we do a little check-in. And it's really just a time to pause and see if we're on track or off based on, what we wanted to achieve and what sort of support we might need to make sure that we stay on track, celebrate a few of our accomplishments along the way.
And then there's a question in the chat. Do you want to wait till after or answer questions now?
We can do it whenever you see them. I see it now. Thanks for calling out. How to obtain last submission. Oh, the information, Abby, that you might have entered into the system. You're looking for how to find that information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So when I take you into the live demo, either Maya or you, Abby, will remind me to show you where to find that, okay? And we also have some job aids that will help you navigate the system. So let's make sure we get that answer when we get to that point. I'll show you exactly where to find that. Thank you for asking. Okay. So we're at the end of the year, our annual review. And then all along that cycle, at any time at all, Cornerstone is there for you as a tool to be documenting things, to add your thoughts to things, to make changes so that you can be fluid, and that you can respond to changes that happen along the year. So we have ongoing opportunities to talk about performance, learning, professional development, and career hopes and dreams. So that's sort of the elements and the sort of cycle that happens, you know, and it just keeps repeating over and over again. Now, key dates for us right now in this period of the annual review, it actually opened, the systems did open on September 29th to coincide with that, you know, end and start of the year. And right now, this is what we're talking about, and it's a focus for today, and that's to get our employee self-ratings in. So we're very focused on that today, but we also want to try to answer as many questions about the process and other tasks as we can, or point you in the right direction so you know where to go. After we put in our self-ratings as employees, then our manager is going to get a prompt to go ahead and review those and add their own comments, ideas, suggestions, and ratings. So they'll go through that right with you and enter it into the system. And you'll get a notice that says, hey, my manager has done this. Now let me go back, put a final eye on everything, make any other additional final comments if I need to, and then acknowledge that we have completed the process. Now, we hope that everyone will finish that process on the 10th. That is the due date. And it's a significant date this year because those of us who are non-represented employees who are eligible for merit increase will be eligible to receive that merit increase. But part of that eligibility means that we have our annual review ratings in and completed by November 10th. So that's significant in that way as well. Now the process, the system itself, the backend actually closes December 31st. So technically you could still add, you know, make additions or changes to it. But we want to make sure that we're clear about the fact that the merit increase, you know, when that process takes place as a fiscal operation, we want to make sure we finish by November 10th. Okay, so we're gonna keep reminding you of those things. So keeping you more and more comfortable and you know, on top of things. All right, so we're in this annual review process. There's basically 3 steps we talked about, and that's the employee self-review, right? That's the first thing coming up. The manager review, and then that final employee acknowledgement. So let's kind of dig into those 3 steps together. Now I'm going to put a job aid into chat right now, and you should be able to see this and download it in just a second. I would say that this, you know, when would I go to this? Well, anytime during that whole performance management process. This is a great overall user manual. You can find it online as well when we show you all the resources. So you can get it here, you can get it online, and some of the information is even in Cornerstone. Also, we have our e-learning library. It's called Accelerate. Many of you are familiar with that, I know, and some it may be new. So we're going to point out where you can find those resources 24/7. So you've always got something there to help you through any small step with job aids, books, videos, and documentation, okay? Now we know that there's some people very new to Cornerstone today, so I want to help you understand where and how to get in. Generally, you can always get into this like you do all your systems in Academica. So it's in employee resources. You look through administrative systems, and then you'll see Cornerstone Conversations. It'll be in alphabetical order. So you can click on it there at any time. You can also go to the Cornerstone website, and there's a login button right there, and that'll take you right into the system as well. So 2 really, you know, quick places that you can go to get into the system. Once you click on Cornerstone, you're going to be taken to your own personal landing page. And it looks a little bit like this. I cut out some stuff in the middle, but basically you'll see the green tab at the top, and you'll see all the way to the bottom your open tasks. So these are like your action items for right now, right? And we can see that there's the annual review right on top. There's the due date. You can see it so you'll know. I am going to point out that you're probably going to see this other task in here as well, because remember, we have that little bit of an overlap in our performance year. So you're going to see this other task there too, and that's there for you when you're ready to do that. But the first thing, of course, we want to concentrate on is our self-review as a first priority. The nice thing about Cornerstone is it's open all year round. So you are going to see the fact that you have availability to get into things anytime you want. And the best way to navigate, this is just a little tip, is this little 3 bars up here at the top. It will take you to any of the pages, all your information. So Abby, when you said, how do I find, some of that other information? I'm going to show you how to use this little 3-bar menu here to find the information you've already put into Cornerstone. All right. We're going to do a live demo in just a second, but you're going to see that it's going to navigate you through the process. So you really can't go wrong, okay? And you don't have to remember things. It's going to help you right where you are, what's the next step, and, and get started. So things are pretty clearly marked and, a lot easier from what I hear to go through than some of the previous systems that we've had. All right. So here's another thing to know. If you've been in Cornerstone, and we know that a lot of people have not this year, we have kind of 2 scenarios. So I'm going to try to walk through 2 scenarios. One scenario is that we've been in Cornerstone, we've put our goals in, they've been approved already. You've been in there, maybe you did the mid-year check-in as well, but you have approved goals. So that's one way that we're going to complete our review, and they're going to be pre-populated. You're going to see them just as you enter them with whatever status, whatever information you and your manager have been, using the tool for. And you're going to just save and continue. If you don't have approved goals, so we know some of you have never even been in Cornerstone, you can still complete your annual review, of course. It's just that you're going to get to it in just a little bit of another way. And basically, you're going to skip going through each one of these goals because we know they're not there, right? So we're just going to save and continue and get started. And there'll be another area for us to put in our comments, goals, things like that there. So everybody gets an opportunity, okay? All right, now let's change over to the live demo. I'm going to go into the system now. Okay. Now I'm just in a test environment, so I'm not doing anything live in the real system, but I just pulled up my own landing page here in Cornerstone. And just like we talked about, hopefully this is going to start to look familiar. Here's my self-review, right? So I'm going to click on that in my tasks. And here's the page that shows me the step I'm on. The first step is the self-review. And there's a few different tasks to complete in this first step. So here's my menu that's going to show me exactly what I'm going to get into. And I can use this as a navigation to go back and forth if I want to come back into it and finish it on another time. You can use multiple sessions to put your information in. So I'm going to just get started right now. And we always start with our goals. Now, in my scenario, I did have approved goals, right? So I'm going to be looking at each one and I'm going to be putting in some information there. If I'm scenario B, where I have not put goals in here, I would actually just be going, they wouldn't show up, and I'd go straight down to save and continue. So sorry for that little bit of visual bouncing around. But if I have no goals approved, I might put goals in, but they weren't approved, right? So if they're not approved yet, it's okay. I can still complete my review. I'm just going to hit save and continue. For those of us who do have approved goals in here, I'm just going to show you a quick example, and then we're going to move on. For every goal that I have in here, I am going to give it a rating, and I'm going to write some comments into my reason why I feel like that's the appropriate rating for me. So I can review my goal. You can see there's even a little bit more here. So if there's more, you can find that little more button. I can see what my goal was. There's a progress bar. That's the last place I touched it, as I put information in. I have it as being on track, when it's due. This little more button here will give you a little more information if there's something I can't view. The weight of my goal, and now the rating. So I'm thinking about this goal, and I'm going to think about what I have done. What have I achieved? What sort of positive impact it made? And I'm going to just pick this piece out of it here right now. I had a goal about working with our consultants in what we call the cohort. So I'm going to talk about what I did with that goal. What did I accomplish? So we can type notes right here in this text box. What did I do? Maybe what actions I took. So the actual things I did, let's not worry about typos for this little test. What might have changed because I did that? What did the HRCs as my colleagues say about it? What was something that worked, what didn't? So you can see that the measures I use are about what I did, what actions I took, and the outcomes and the impact they had on people. Do I hear?
Yes, Sharon. Abby had the question.
Okay.
Okay, Sharon, I looked at my information, but it had some items that were like past due, and I did the mid-year this summer. That's what I cannot find.
Okay. Now I'm gonna.
So that's when I'm, kind of
looking
confused.
for your-
Like, okay, well, I went in and did some updates, but it has like old information there.
Okay, so you don't see the updates, you mean, when your goals, when you're looking at them?
Right, I do not see them. I see what I put in like year before, like last year when we first started. So I don't see, the mid-year and what was approved.
Okay.
It says like over where it says like progress or whatever on status. It says like it's past due.
Okay.
When I actually went in and did some stuff this summer.
Okay. And one thing, Abby, it might be that if you can also hang on with us too, like
Okay.
after the event is over, we can go actually into your
Okay, great.
Cornerstone and take a look at that and see, because sometimes it's, it's a little bit specific, but there are ways to go back and see what we've done in the past, again, in this hamburger menu. So hang on again, because I'm going to go back in there to show you. Let's just finish the goal for now. Now, sometimes also, Abby, that has to do with the due date. If our due dates are in the past fiscal year, the past fiscal performance year, they're not going to show up here in 2023. So
okay, someone put
Yeah.
the question in the chat. That's what mine looks like that. So
yeah. So your
Okay.
Start date is 1/1/2022, which is last year. Okay.
Mhm.
And the due date was 12/31/2022.
Right.
So that's last year's, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Maya, if I'm thinking about that's
Last year's
fiscal
time
year.
period.
So
Yes.
that's why you're not seeing them. Okay. We might be able to go find it though by looking at last year's goals and things like that. We can see what we wrote. I'll show you how to get there with that navigation.
Okay, I'll hold
But
on
the date,
afterwards.
That's
Thank
a great
you.
question, Abby, because the date does trigger the system and tell it where to put things. So if it's outside of our fiscal year, so October 1st, 2022 would be the start of this year. And then September 29th that we just passed, 2023, those are the dates that these particular goals and activities and actions should have been recorded. If we carried it over from last year and didn't change those dates, the system would recognize them as last year's goals.
Okay, well, that's what I need to go over because I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, I put
Okay.
information in here and
Yeah.
okay.
Let's hang on to, if you have time after, or we can also schedule another time to walk you through that.
I'll hang on after.
Okay, great. All right, Abby, great question. I'm sure other people are going to experience that too. That's a great thing. And that's why you'll see some of that right there. Okay. So I write, again, my comments, just making sure I think about how, what I did to achieve this goal, what was, happening, and even challenges that I faced. Maybe there were things outside of my control. Maybe the goal itself isn't even due till December. In this case, my goal wouldn't even be due till next year, right? In a way. So there's a reason why the progress is only 50% or whatever. So it's very, specific to our situation. It doesn't mean that we're not doing our performance, even though we're only 51%, depending on that due date. All right. So now I've thought about all that. I've written down things here. Now I think is a good time to think about, okay, based on that, where am I? Am I, for my rating? Because we're going to self-rate each one of these goals. Based on all of that, for me, for our demonstration today, I'm going to pick effective. I felt like I met what I need to do. I didn't wildly innovate. I didn't, go 1,000% over, but I met what I set out to do based on the goals Dawn and I talked about. Now, this little question mark here, this will help you review, what do we mean by those ratings again? How do I know which rating I think applies to me? Well, here's what they, the descriptions of each one. So we can all kind of see the same consistent sort of way of looking at it, right? And it's, again, very personal to us and what we set out to do and the challenges, the, accomplishments we had over the year. But that is a way to find out, oh, what does that mean again? Before you select. So you can always go in and out of that and take a look. So that's my, like, one example for everybody, right? Each goal, I review it. I think about my accomplishments, what I've done, what I haven't, my challenges, what difference it made, what change it made, the outcome it made. Those are all ways that would help me think about how did I achieve this goal? Then I give myself a rating. And I'm going to do that for every goal. Those of us who have goals in here, that's in you. You can see it's pre-populated, so it's already prompting me to go do it. So I would do the same thing for everyone. Just today for our webinar, I'm just going to select, I would type in here again, my comments. Why do I feel this way? What are some of the things that I can point to as specific examples? And I would do that again for each one. Now, what happens if I skip one? Let's see how many goals I have. I'm just going to skip one. I'm going to forget one. I'm going to put inconsistent on that. I had a problem with that. Here's this. Okay. I'm not going to pick one for this last goal, and I'm going to try to save and continue because the system is going to flag me. Ooh, big red bar, right? I missed something. So I did that so you could see that in the chance that you might forget something, it's going to flag you and say, hey, wait a minute. Oops, you got to do this one more thing. And here it is right there. I didn't select a rating, so I forgot. I might have got wrapped up. So I'll say, okay, I did that well. You can see that there are times where you don't have to put in a comment, and as long as you get that rating in there, you're okay. There are other areas where you do need to fill in the comments. So you'll see it flag you, okay? So you don't have to remember it, but it will help you. Now I've done all my ratings. I put my comments in. Now I can save and continue, or I can save and exit. If you want to come back to it, save and exit, but save it either way so that you don't lose your work. I'm going to save and continue. Now I've done all my goals. All right, now we go to the next step. It already navigates me there to our values. We're going to rate our alignment with our values. So we've rated our performance, what we needed to accomplish. And now what's important to us at Wayne State and our culture is also how we do the work we do, our values, our approach to things. So this is as important as hitting our goals. So we have all of our values here. I'm going to review them. Collaboration is a Wayne State value, diversity and inclusion. What does that mean? I can look at that here. What does that look like? I can look at some of these. They're very helpful. And hopefully it's not, the first time we're going to be looking at these. It's an ongoing way that we build our culture. So now that I've had a chance to review that, take my time, take as long as I need, come back to it if I need to. That's a great review because now I'm going to think about it overall. When I think about these values overall, all of them together and my work this year, do I feel like I'm aligned, not aligned, maybe somewhat aligned, but I could maybe get stronger? That's what we're looking for in this rating. And once again, you have the question mark here to help prompt you. What does that mean? What does that mean? How are we looking at that as an organization? Okay, so now that I've had a chance to review those things, think about that, I'm also going to write my comments in here. Now you see this, it's very small to see here, but there's a little asterisk here. In the values, I have to write some comments in here or it'll flag me. So not only do I pick, do I feel like I'm aligned or not, I also pick why I feel that way. And I'm going to point you back up here because it's not that you have to write something about every single one of these, but what is really standing out to you this year? What is a strength you might have? What was very important to you in your goals this year? They're all important, of course, but for me, I'm thinking about that leadership goal. I'm thinking about working with the HRCs, and I'm actually thinking, in innovation, this really sticks out to me. I'm gonna actually remind Dawn, that was the thing that really is driving some of my rating, and I just copied and pasted it right into here because I'm remembering that. Now I'm going to personalize that and say, with the HRCs in our cohort, we have a new process. We have a new, we did this, Julie said this about that. Maya said this is a strength. And Deb said, here's the thing that could have helped me. So I'm going to add that in here too, and I'm going to get better at that. So I'm gonna, use a little bit of that information to help me remember and help Dawn remember why I'm gonna take this rating, and maybe one or two things that really stick out to me here. So it's really helpful, to come back to this. It's also helpful to think about feedback and things that other people provide you. So we're going to talk about, how do I get this information? Where do I get that? How do I prepare for this?
And Sharon, I'll add also that, throughout the entire physical year, it's kind of helpful if you keep your own notes on what major accomplishments you've done, where there are some gaps you may have filled, you developed a new process, anything that occurred throughout that year, even if you have to just jot it down really quickly on a note pad somewhere, it's always good to go back and reference as well. That way, completing these reviews would be much more easier
Yeah,
to do.
that's great. Thanks, Maya. You can actually put all those things right into Cornerstone too, so that if you just want to take a note one day, you just can type it right in here and it'll stay there for you. You don't have to find it again. You don't have to, collect things from all over the place. So it's a habit, right? A new practice for all of us. But habits take a little time to get into, but once we do them and we practice them a little bit, we get better and better. So I think that's excellent advice, and thank you. And Cornerstone could be the place that you do that. But even if it's not, you can still use that information, right? And type it in. You can even upload documents if you prefer to keep something like in a Word document or something. We're all different. So you can upload those right into Cornerstone as well. All right, we're working our way through this. Look, so you can see these check marks appearing here. You can see the circle is filling in, so I can tell that I'm making progress. Professional development is also very important to us as employees, right? We want to be able to grow in our careers. We want opportunities to learn and develop. And so you had an opportunity in Cornerstone to make a professional development plan. Now, here's a time where I might have gone back and reviewed, if I put information in here, what did I, say about learning this year? So I might refer back to the learning that I identified earlier in the year, or maybe I took a class. Today, you guys are all in this webinar, right? So I might note that I went to this webinar and I'm now using Cornerstone more often. There's a lot of things that are very informal as well as formal learning. So here's the chance for me to just reflect on what I did this year, my plans, one way that something has changed or I've gotten better at something because of it. Anyway, sorry, I cannot type today. Or, something new that I want for next year. These are all places to reflect and write comments in here. That's all I'm doing in professional development. I'm really thinking about my learning for my goals for this role. And then I'm going to save and continue. Career development is that last area that's also very important to us. So this is maybe what's coming next for me, what do I envision myself in the next, year, 2 years, 3 years? What am I interested in? This is a place to, again, go back. If you have put things into Cornerstone already in this career development area, it's always open, as Maya said. So I might start doing this, this year, and start to put my thoughts in there and keep track of it in this one-stop shop place, right? One documentation that my manager and I can look through. So once again, we put our comments in here. It'll tell you it's optional, and I'll save and continue. So now I have pretty much navigated through all of these little tasks in this first step. Hopefully it's thinking. Are you thinking? Try it one more time. All right. Now, remember we said that some people have not have goals approved in here already in the system. This, after you come in you do still the values, you do professional development, career development, you would land at this page. This is for everybody, but particularly this is the place if you have not had a chance to have approved goals in here. Here's where you would still be able to put goals, tasks, things that you've worked on this year, and give yourself a rating overall. So that's why, again, everybody can complete their annual review. And it's this overall kind of summary after that great review we just did together, right? We thought about these things. Now we're in a good place. So thinking about my goals and the values and thinking about, that's the what and the how. Where do I see myself kind of ending up for 2023? So you pick that out with the rating, that the question mark will help prompt you. What does that mean again? And once again, you see a little red asterisk, so you know that this particular comment field does need to be filled in. So I'm going to say, that I did this goal. I went above and beyond on this. Next year, I see this happening, some changes, and in the values, I was aligned on these things. Here's what I did again, just a summary. It can be a couple words, it can be bullets. You don't have to be a great writer to do this. You just have to get your thoughts out in a way that makes sense to you and your manager. You can use a bulleted list, whatever you want. It's just formatted almost like a Word document for you. All right, so that was the kind of the summary, my overall performance review. And now I can either submit it if I'm ready, or I can save and exit. Now, in this case, I'm just going to submit so we can keep going here today. You'll get one more chance, right? Always one more chance before you do a final action that you can't take back. So we get one more opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And now I have completed the first step of 3. I've done my self-review. And the reason I also know it's completed it to submit it is that you see it's gone from my tasks at the bottom. Remember, it was the first one. Now all I see is, next year's planning. So I'm not going to worry about that today, but it's here when I'm ready. So that is kind of that, live demonstration of what it would look like, what it would feel like, the steps you take to get step number 1 done. Now, it's going to go to your manager. So Dawn, when she comes into her landing page, she's going to see it in her task right down here. She's going to see complete your self-review because she's also an employee, she's a manager as well, right? So she's going to do her self-review, but she's also going to get a prompt right here that says, also complete Sharon C, has submitted her self-appraisal. So go ahead and review hers. So
There's a question in the chat from
Yeah.
Abby.
There's no way to indicate your progress for each goal. You would have to do that, Angela, before you come into your review, okay? So if there are things that you want to change or adjust before you do your review, some things are still open to do that. You can, if you have approved goals, you can go in, you can make adjustments. But remember, when we change big things in the system, not necessarily comments and stuff, but if we change a goal or the weight of that goal, something big that we would have needed to probably share with our manager first, we can go ahead and make those edits. Our manager will have to approve them for the system to take it, right? To say, oh, I see that you've made a change, it's approved. And then you would have those populated in here to then, do your review on. But if you don't make those changes prior to review, you're going to see what the system knows to be the most up-to-date information, okay? And your percentage doesn't, generally you want your goals to add up to be 100%, however many goals you have, right? So you might have 3 goals and they're all 33%, right? Or whatever you want. Maybe one is 34% just because it feels nice and clean and tidy. But I think that's something that you and your manager come to an understanding about. But generally, yeah, you want your goals to add up to be just 100% of what I'm doing. That's all that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just let me know if
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Abby.
Great. Okay. So let me come back out of the live system for a second. Now that you've seen it, again, a lot of you are new to this, so we'd kind of like to know your kind of before, how you feel about it now. And then we're going to poll people, every year to understand if we're helping to make the system more simple, if there's improvements there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this is a very quick poll. If you could help us, to the extent that you feel this process is simple, let us know. And if, again, you've been in other systems or you've done things previously at Wayne State, do you feel that this is an improvement? And really,
go ahead, Sharon. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Maya. I should say we appreciate, that feedback because it helps us to make improvements and understand, make sure that the system works and is valuable to us. Go ahead, Maya.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask Sharon while everyone is answering. Some of the feedback that I've received from clients is that, the system forces you to respond to most of the sections. Whereas previously, some things may have been missed. And so, but I always respond to my clients and let them know, we need the details. We need every detail, that you and your manager discuss to make sure that, you guys are on the same page. There's a clear understanding and expectation of what to do. And so sometimes clients may get frustrated. Some of my clients may get frustrated, from having to just add all the details, but I let them know, it couldn't even be no more than a sentence or two. It doesn't have to be a full paragraph, when you're responding. So it's just that we just need those details.
Right. And the better we get at it, including our supervisors too, we're all at a place, wherever that is, really experienced, less experienced, and we're all moving forward to get better and better at it. And the more we do that, the better we'll be as a place to work, right? The more competitive we'll be, the more we're going to value our role, feel that we're contributing and know why and how to get better and make improvements. But also celebrate, those things along the way. Sometimes a goal, is very long, right? If we're implementing a new system, it takes a year or two to do that. The end goal might not happen for a year or two. And it's a long time to wait to say, are we on track? Hey, let's celebrate that we did this part of the implementation. We need to do that along the way as much as we do just one time a year. So we hope that with practice, we'll all, just get more confident in doing that, and our abilities will just get stronger and stronger over time. So yeah, agree. Now, so we're going to shift a little bit from, the tool itself and the system, the process. We said those were very important for today because we know we have some deadlines. We know that this is new for a lot of people, but we don't want to lose track of, the real reason why we're doing this as well. And we said that people were the most important reason, and that's true. We really want to have a system that works well for our people, that makes it a valuable process that truly helps both leaders and us as employees, partner together and take a full role in driving our performance, in driving our learning and development and our career growth. And this is one way of doing that. It's one of the most important ways. It's not the only thing, but we knew that we had room for improvement right along. So that's why you see Cornerstone is a brand new system and process overall for us. So when we think about that people piece, let's think about what we hope to get from having a conversation around our performance, especially at the end of the year, but even during the year as well. And this is one of the questions that we might ask ourselves, especially if we're newer, but even if we're more seasoned. Every single year, I kind of think about this when I'm coming, to a conversation like this. What do I hope to get out of it? And that just gives me a pause, right? And I can prepare myself so that when I meet with Dawn, I've thought about this a little bit too, So that's what we hope to. So I'm wondering if anybody feels comfortable to either come off mute or share in chat as well. What do you hope to get out of a conversation like this?
I'll kind of start while maybe others are still thinking. I feel like in my situation, well, I won't say my situation, but in articles that I've read, employees would like to be acknowledged for the work that they do. And when an employee doesn't feel that they're seen or heard, that's when they tend to leave an organization. And so I feel like I'm one of those people who like to receive acknowledgement for some of my work, not all, but for some things, and just to be heard, and vice versa, listening to my manager as well. So.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
I'll comment on what I hope to get from my annual review. I love the reviews. it gives me a chance to right set or at least express my feelings to my manager as to how I work, the purpose of how I work, why I work a particular way. It gives me it gives my manager the opportunity to give me feedback as to where we may differ on how I view myself versus how they may view me. And then ultimately, it sets me up for the next year where I kind of know how my leader thinks. And then I make sure that when I set my goals up for the upcoming year, that any of those areas that may have been identified as opportunities for growth, that those goals are set up to accommodate those opportunities as well. So I think it's a great way to have a dialogue, particularly if you don't talk with your leader on a day-to-day basis where you're getting that constant feedback. It makes it so that you're not getting a surprise at the end of the year where you thought you were doing well and it was maybe not exactly what you thought. So definitely a placeholder and a documented source of making sure that everyone is staying on the same page as to what the goal and the mission is.
You have two really big things that both of you guys have pointed out, just that relationship and hearing each other. And Marilyn, just getting understanding. Sometimes we're just validating the fact that we have the same perspective on something. And even that is a really important thing, right? To do. So, we are looking for feedback. We're looking for connection. We're looking for validation. We're looking for, many things, and just having a simple conversation together. And yet it could be a tough conversation to have, especially if we're not comfortable. For leaders and for employees, it's probably one of the things that people cite, the most. So we hope a lot of things that you've said, that it helps us understand our goals and our performance and gain clarity around that. Opportunities to share, so we are effective at what we do. So hopefully we're going to gain some clarity, or we're going to get closer to understanding the what about what we do. I love that part that you both mentioned. You really touched on the fact that this is, a partnership. This is a dialogue. It's a conversation. And I love the fact that we call our whole performance management process, Cornerstone is the tool, helps us remember this, but it's called Cornerstone Conversations. So it's really focused on that dialogue, which is really the richest part of it. Cornerstone is just great because it's a really handy tool to capture it and organize it for us and help us not have to remember things. But it's really that connection together, that relationship, and it can really help us build trust. Just time together, so precious these days with the fast pace that we're in, or even just assuming that because we see each other every day and we're talking about work and this and that we've got it, right? But we're actually not talking about these things. And so this forces us in a way to just pause for a moment and make sure, and just doing that, we really can build a strong relationship of trust together. So, you think performance management, you might not think these things right off the bat, but, we're hoping, and we know that when it's done right, and we help both us and our leaders to get better and better at it, that we're gonna feel that way. So we're preparing in a lot of ways to do that, just by taking today together out, and by using some of these job aids. This job aid that I'm going to put in there for you right now, it's called a reflection job aid. Don't let those words, sound too big to you. It really is just little questions to ask yourself. And even one of these questions can help us prepare to have a great conversation, especially at the end of the year, but all during the year, that cycle we talked about as well. So we each can do that if we use some little prompts. I'm going to pop this up here really quick. Go back. Sorry about that. Go back. Remember that our overall performance, remember when we got to that section of the review, it said it was the overall, right? And it was our final rating. But that includes, our what, those goals, and our how. So they both factor in to that rating overall. And our values, our the learning that we've done, our knowledge, our skills, all those things factor in to overall excellence in performance. And sometimes there are factors that are not within our control. So, we might want to make sure we're documenting those things along the way if we experience them. We can certainly include them, in why we have assessed ourselves the way we have, not as an excuse, right, or a defense, but as an observation, as a point of fact for why things are the way they are. So we can include those things as we're thinking about, why am I rating myself this way? And what do I want to have so I can talk about this, feel more confident to talk about it? Also remember that if I don't have, my goals in there that were approved yet, I can still seek information. There's information all around us that we can use from just ourselves. How am I feeling about this year overall? It's a feeling, but maybe that feeling is, generated from something. So if I just ask myself, well, what am I, feeling about this year? What am I proud of? What have I achieved, in past reviews? Those are all great places of documentation. Think about things in a smart, use that SMART tool to make it a little bit specific. How did I measure? How did I know I would be successful? What abilities did I need? Was it in a certain time frame? Even hitting something, on time and on budget, that's a big measure of success, right? For some of the tasks we do. And then there's feedback from my colleagues, certainly from my manager. So feedback from myself, feedback from my colleagues, my customers and clients. And your HR consultant is a great partner for you too. They're very well versed. They have expertise in these areas, and they're there for you to help you think things through and prepare. So we have a lot of resources and tools for you. And we also have these step-by-step tools. What I put in the chat I mentioned for you is a little review guide. And it actually, even one question that just says, what am I most proud of this year? So how could I start to prepare? Well, I could answer just that one question for myself. And that might lead to some more insights or other questions, right, to ask. Well, I'm most proud of, Employee Recognition Week. It was amazing last year. Why am I proud of that? Well, we did this and this. I got to work with Maryland. I got to partner with people. See, it just kind of starts to roll out of my head a little bit, but I just needed to start somewhere to get my thoughts together. So use those tools. Get in the habit of trying one new thing, answer one question, and you will get more comfortable doing this, and you'll get better and better with practice. All right, I come back to that little little bar menu. I know, Abby, you're going to hang on for this, but there's tools right in Cornerstone to help you do this. Of course, there are ways to just request feedback right in Cornerstone. And when you get a little more familiar with it, when you just click on that little 3 bars here, you're going to see a menu there. I would encourage you to just play around with that and get familiar with it. And you'll find out that you can actually request feedback right here in the system from anyone here at Wayne State. I can request feedback from Maryland. I can request feedback from Maya. They'd be great people because I work with them on some projects. I had to give them input. I had to, to work with them. So they're in a great position to say, you know what, Sharon, you did this well, and it really helped me do this in my job. Or, you know what, I see you have a strength here. I feel like you should, use that more. Or, you know what, I think that, hey, I'm going to be honest with you because I care about you as a colleague and I want to see you grow and develop. One thing you might want to investigate is this. I'd be happy to help you with that or point you in the right direction. Oh my gosh, that is so invaluable to me, right? If I'm just open to it. So you can do that right in the system. And we also have a video. We have tools, little how-tos. So once again, you don't have to remember how to do this. You just have to have a curious mind and explore a little bit, and we'll help you do that. Use that tool, that reflection tool, to again get you started. And it will ask you these things right here. Look at your goals. What are you most proud of? What did I do that is new, an improvement? Any one of those things will help you along the way, to collect feedback, to document things, and to have a place to start so that you can feel comfortable talking about some of these things. All right, that was just some inspiration there. I know we're getting close to the end, so I just want to make sure that we have a little time for questions. You can also schedule that ongoing conversation with your manager, and they can schedule one too. It's called a touch point. So there's a term for you that's unique to Cornerstone, but it's basically just having one of these performance or ongoing conversations where I can use an agenda that's already built right in Cornerstone, and I can schedule it. So once again, play around with that little menu and you'll find it under performance and touch points. And I can have a coaching touch point where I might need some help. I could just have a one-on-one touch point that just says, hey, where are we? Let's talk about, the status of the progress of one goal. Or I can have a professional development one. And these have a little agenda that could actually help you have that meeting. It's already created for you. You just sort of, use it to guide your conversation or capture your thoughts, and it will stay right in Cornerstone. So hopefully you'll see that there's just a lot of great stuff in here as you become more and more familiar, and over time, there are tools and tips and resources right in here for you to help navigate you along the way. All right, and finally, the tools that you will see available to you 24/7 are our Cornerstone website. So remember, we talked about the website, we talked about Accelerate, and of course you have your human resources consultant. I'm going to go live to those places right now and just show you that right in Academica, all of our systems, of course, are available to you. So in our resources, employee resources, the minute I click on these for the first time, they're always there in alphabetical order, but I just pin them to the top. So I have them in my menu. So my little quick menu has them right at the top. And to do that, all you need to do is hover over something. And you can see when I just hover over it. See this little tack, this little thumb tack right there? That's how you pin something that you go to often right to the top of your links right here. So now it'll be there forevermore for me. So that's a little tip and trick for you if you want to have these things right at your fingertips. But Cornerstone Conversations is right there. Accelerate is here as our e-learning library. When you go into Accelerate, we have already put Cornerstone as a quick link for you, so you can find it quickly and easily, as long as our system is processing, so as long as it takes. Here it is right here, Cornerstone Conversations, and then just click on it. This will be right there for you. And all of those tools and resources that we talked about are right here. And it's organized in the same sort of flow and order that we talked about, right? In that cycle, that circle that you saw, an introduction to Cornerstone, setting goals. I hear a lot. I know, Maya, you hear this. We heard this in our last session. How do I write better goals? How do I get clarity on goals? Well, right here, and as we finish up this fiscal year and begin to plan for another one, we'll have learning webinars just like this one around updating our goals, writing new goals, thinking about career goals or professional development. It's all right here, just depending on where you're at and what you're interested in at that time. So that's Accelerate. All right, and then we mentioned that also there's the Cornerstone website. So here it is live. You can see that's under Human Resources, and as a current employee, that's us. It's Performance Management. So a little navigation, but once again, if you put this in your favorites, once you get there, you'll always have it. And this is really a hub for everything Cornerstone. So all the learning is right here at your fingertips. You can log into Cornerstone right here instead of Accelerate or Academica. And key dates are always right here. And I would say that this is the most updated place to go, right? Because if we have a document with a date on it, that might change. So I would check here too, as well as look at, your documentation. Everything online will be the most current and up-to-date information for you. All right, so we're going to wrap up and have time for any questions. Let's see. Back to my slides. I think we're almost at the end. That was our resources. Here's what's up next. We know we're starting our annual review. It's open now for you. October 11th, you want to get that step 1 done, those self ratings. Then your manager will be prompted to go ahead and complete their portion and review and leave their comments as well. Have a conversation together about that as well. You don't just have to put it into Cornerstone. Hopefully it'll prompt a conversation. And then you will acknowledge it by November 10th. And then this part of the annual review will be complete. Remember to use these tools, use those job aids to prepare so that you feel comfortable coming into that conversation, and you feel comfortable about how you're doing your ratings, but also so that you can ask questions, right? We don't always have all the answers to everything, but we can at least find out that we might have a question we can answer together. And supervisors are going to feel the same way. They have questions too, right? So this is great to help shape that dialogue. Have that conversation together, and of course, work with your HR consultant anytime you might have questions. All right, our last poll, you've all been so patient and flexible, just to understand. Now that you've been through this, and now that you might have a little more experience, those of you who've been in Cornerstone, how confident are you that you're going to be able to complete the process with these tools, with this type of support? And how well do you think that this enables you to have really good, valuable conversations? So go ahead and answer those. Please ask any final questions you might have. If you need any other help, we're here. I'm going to stay on for a little bit. I know Abby might still be able to hang on for a little bit too. Abby, we'll hang on with you if you can. Any other questions, any other experiences you'd like to share with our group? This is a safe space to do so.
I'll share, Sharon. I think it's really important to take the time to document and write your self-assessment of yourself. It's worth the however long it takes, because it's also representative of how much you care about the job that you do. So if you pass in something or you submit something that only took 5 or 10 minutes to put together, then it's basically not really truly representing who you are as a person that's committed to your work that you do here at Wayne State. So it's really worth making that effort to write things up. I mean, Sharon, your training, I know about some things that are out there in Cornerstone that now I will use to help me write my review as well. Google has a lot that's out there, but it's worth every hour that you take to put this together, because it's representative of who you are as a person. And it's going to give you that additional document to talk from when you're having the dialogue, to see how your leader views you as a person as well. So I think the document itself is a great opportunity to represent who you are. And you never know, it is something that as you move through your profession, it will, give you an idea, or maybe even spark a thought of going back to school, going in a different direction, career development. There's so much you get from it once you take that time to write it out. So it's a great document. So thanks, Sharon, and thanks, Maya, from an HR standpoint, for everything you do.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
And to everyone out there, I think, Marilyn, you bring up such a great thing. There's a question sometimes we ask in our practice, and that is, who is responsible for our performance? Who's actually responsible for our performance? Really interesting question. The first person, when we talk about this in our circle, the first person who is responsible is us. We are responsible for our own performance. But we are not alone in that, and we are in a partnership, right? Because our leader is responsible also to support, grow us, provide the opportunities, the environment. They're responsible for that piece of it too. But at the end of the day, we're the first person responsible. Our leader is responsible in their role, and the organization is responsible to provide these types of things to support us, enable us to do it. So we all have a role, and the better we do that, really the easier and the more valuable it becomes, because I don't know if any of you think about something you've learned in the past, anytime in your life, something brand new that you learned, whether it was photography or skateboarding or cooking. It's so new and exciting, right? There's a lot we don't know, but the more we poke into it, just a little bit at a time, the more we learn, the more we add to it, and the more valuable it becomes. And pretty soon, we're sharing it with other people, we're teaching whatever it is that drives us. It's very motivating, I think, too. So, but a little bit at a time. You don't have to get the whole thing immediately. We can just add slowly to our cup, and before we know it, it's filling up. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. You've taken time today. You've shown your commitment to your own learning, and hopefully this is helpful to you, and it enables you to, take that role fully in your performance and in your career here at Wayne State.